and good evening. My name is Shelley Harrison, and I'm your host of Luminary Leaders Live. And I'm actually excited for my guest tonight. You're going to meet him in just a moment. I want to give our sponsor a shout out, and it is Endeavor Mortgage, and they're located in Seal Beach, California. And we want to give Dan Leonard a shout out. We thank you for your sponsorship, and for those of you, we'll have it in the show notes if you'd like to reach out to Dan and Endeavor Mortgage. Again, Shelley Harrison here, and I have the world's most organized, well, actually, the most, that's a tongue twister, the most organized man in America. And Andrew Mellen, welcome to Luminary Leaders Live tonight. How are you?
Great, Shelley. It's great to be with you.
Oh, so happy to have you here. And, I have to say that, this has been, we've, talked before, we've, done some Zoom meetings and so forth, but I followed you. I'm not stalking, but just following you because I love organizing. I love cleaning. I love, getting my mind uncluttered. And tonight, I know you're going to help a lot of our, just people that are tuning in and watching. But I would love to just have you say a little bit about yourself. I know you're a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, so that's pretty cool. And let's hear about you, Andrew, and what is your mission, with this whole idea of clutter and stuff?
Well, thank you. It's a lovely and generous way to introduce me to the people who are watching and listening in. My mission is, without getting pompous or overly, sounding overly full of myself, I'm really interested in helping as many people as I possibly can to set themselves free from dead-end relationships with inanimate objects. I find that people are often stuck in places, physical places, emotional places, psychological spaces, sometimes spiritual places where some form of clutter, often physical clutter, but then all the other kinds of clutter, right? Again, mental clutter, emotional clutter, spiritual clutter, that is standing between them and what they want to be spending their time doing. And they seem, while they are usually quite smart and accomplished people in many ways, they seem incapable of cracking the code or solving the puzzle of getting the stuff out of the way so that they have clear and free access to to their heart's desire. And I don't care what that is, right? I don't care if you want to bake cookies for the church bazaar, or you want to cure cancer, or just show up on time for your kid's soccer game. Whatever it is that matters to you, I just want to work with you to make sure that if there's something that's keeping you from showing up on time consistently in all of the ways that you want to, that we get that out of the way as quickly as possible. Because often, because I'm an objective third party, it's very easy for me to see what needs to move when, it's forest for the trees. Often people, their face is so pressed up against the glass that they just don't have any perspective on, if I just did this, if I just put my keys here, if I just kept my bag there, if I just knew where my mobile phone was, I would be able to show up on time. And then beyond that, when we get into clutter, deferred decisions, again, it's easy to just walk into the house, drop something on the kitchen counter, drop it on the dining room table, put it on the floor next to your bed and keep walking, telling yourself and earnestly believing one of your 200 lies that you'll get back to that later or soon.
Oh God.
And it just lays there, and it piles up, and it becomes the thing that keeps you from, again, without sounding overly lofty or ridiculous, right? From living your best life. It's something that's sitting between you and freedom, and
exactly
easy to get rid of it. So
exactly. And what I love is that your organizing company, what you do and how you support people, it goes beyond the keys, the wallet, the jacket, and really it's the entire, when you look at people and how they live, people, we all have clutter in our minds to begin with. And when it comes to our homes, our offices, wherever we are, we want to, sometimes we just want to just cover it all and not even see it. And I think a lot of people do that. And I know, like with what you put out there, you have actual systems. And one of them in particular, actually, I've adopted a lot of them, I will tell you, just because I've been following you. And it's made my life so much freaking better.
Oh,
It
that's
really has.
good. That's
I
good.
mean, when you do the, you talk about the passwords, where you, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Passwords, you talk about, just mail clutter or, organizing cabinets. And there are a lot of other people out there that do what you do. And I don't want to say a lot, but there are a lot of organizers, and then there are those like you who are celebrities and people that, that do this on a much bigger scale. And, they're not really digging into the real reality of what the problem is,
Well,
in
I
my
talk all the
opinion.
time about, yeah, I talk all the time about the stuff behind the stuff. Because again,
Yeah.
like with most things, the symptom, the thing that presents as the problem is seldom the actual problem, right? I mean, something else is going on behind the clutter that allows the clutter to be there. There might be depression, there might be anxiety, there might be
Ah,
depression and anxiety. There could be any number of things. There could just be overwhelm, and again, a muddled mind where,
mhm.
because you're so stressed out and so overloaded, overwhelmed, that you've lost the ability to think clearly in the moment, because you're just in that
Yeah,
fight or flight. You're constantly in that peak adrenaline kind of place. So again, you just don't even have the room to breathe. And bringing all of that down and getting to the root problem, it's seldom the mail that's sitting on your dining room table that presents as the
yeah,
problem. But once we dig in, we figure out that the mail is a superficial symptom of something deeper. And I'm not a clinical psychologist. I mean, I don't shrink people. And at the same time, I've been doing this work for 27 years. I have a lot of experience in helping people by coaching them and
right.
just mirroring what they're saying and doing, that
Yeah,
allows them to have breakthroughs and let go of old stories and unconscious, subconscious ways of doing things that they weren't even, obviously, because they're unconscious or subconscious, they're not consciously
yeah,
aware of what they're doing, right? They're just in that pattern of behavior. And again, when you have fresh eyes and somebody says, "Hey, this is curious. You want to tell me the story behind, like, why this, why now, why?" And once we
yeah,
start to get into that, stuff opens up, and I'm telling you, I love my work, and I love being able to facilitate this kind of transformation in other people, because you
yeah,
see the results. It's also, there's not a um, there's not a long lead time to progress, right? I mean, once
yeah,
we start to work, things shift rapidly. And so I get the reward of seeing you get the reward, right? I mean,
yeah.
as stuff falls away and things open up, I get that feedback very quickly. So it's not like we're doing something where it takes 6 months to see progress. You'll see progress in an hour,
Right.
which is pretty awesome.
Exactly. And that's how quick that transformation can take place. And really, it's life changing. And I had revealed to you, and I think it was during a Zoom meeting, and I knew I was going to be talking to you, and I'm like, okay, I've got to get this crap under control. And I had and I've done it for years, Andrew. And my husband, he always tells me, get rid of those bags, go through the mail. I would literally have in my office, 3 or 4 bags of mail. I go through it, like I'll get rid of the advertisements or whatever, but there's a lot of crap in there. So before I got on Zoom with you, I'm like, okay, I have to develop a system. And, my husband helped me with it. So we literally have a basket now right at the front door, and the mail key is in there. And yeah, and, we go through it regularly. And I have to say, I have no more bags. So I'm
Awesome.
excited, because that was something that you brought to the forefront, where I was thinking that's just a small piece. There are people that have, I mean, people that hoard, and let's talk about that, because I think there are people out there, and there's, I don't want to criticize people that hoard, because believe me, I'm a hoarder of some things too, but I've had to let go. But what are your thoughts on hoarding?
Well, so What are my thoughts on hoarding? I think that,
That's a loaded question, right?
well, I mean, I talk about it during the challenge, right? During the De-stress Your Mess challenge
Yeah.
on the third night, we climb into it because it's I find that as a clinical diagnosis of somebody with hoarding tendencies, it's its own animal, right?
Yeah.
And I think it becomes easy to use the word in the same way that somebody maybe who drinks a lot jokingly calls themselves an alcoholic, but they really, push came to shove, they probably wouldn't meet the criteria of a self-diagnosed illness like alcoholism. And
Mhm.
so I think it's also helpful to, if you have a lot of stuff and you have emotional attachment to those things and some psychological barriers to investigating the things,
Yeah.
maybe you're on a spectrum in the same way that you might be on a spectrum with autism or obsessive compulsive disorder or depression or
Yeah.
anxiety, that in the DSM-5, hoarding tendencies was moved from obsessive compulsive disorder to
Mhm.
a diagnosis of depression. So,
Yeah.
and again, I'm not a clinician, and it's important
Right.
to know this because a lot of people come to me and to my programs because I am both deeply compassionate and no
Yeah.
bullshit. I'm
Right.
very
Yeah.
direct, and I don't indulge story. And I also appreciate that people have stories. So I try to meet them where they are, but I'm also not interested in indulging it and giving them a pass of like, well, okay, so because of these circumstances in your life, historically or presently, you get to have more, clutter and things that are interfering with your ability to have a happy, safe, protected, comfortable home. That
Right.
that's that's
Yeah.
a story.
Mhm.
Everybody is capable of having it if you're willing to do the work, right? I mean, there's plenty of all of us, wherever we're at on the spectrum of mental wellness, mental illness, everybody's capable of addressing it unless the illness is so severe that medical intervention is required. And short of
Yeah.
that, and even if we think about it, if we think of cancer, if you have cancer, then the treatment routine is probably some version of chemotherapy and radiation.
Yeah.
And then and it beats the crap out of your body, and then you're in remission and hopefully recovery. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with anything. If you're willing to drink the poison, the medicine, you can get on the other side of it. So with hoarding, it's the
Yeah.
same thing, right? I mean, if you want to change, and I've worked with plenty of people who present as having hoarding tendencies, if they're
Yeah.
willing to do the work and have a transformation, then we can affect a change. And just like any other condition, if they don't see the possibility of change, then they're not going
Mhm.
to take the steps to change. And that's
Yeah.
that's where it gets uncomfortable, only because I don't like to write anybody off. I can go toe to toe with anyone who wants to get on the other side of the experience. I just need them to be a 50-50 partner in the process.
Right, and they have to be willing, and there are people out there that a lot of us, where we accumulate so much over the years. And I think there's sentimental things that, I mean, for example, when people have a death in the family, if it's a parent or whatever, where they're holding on to those things. And I think sometimes, that's even something that's a whole nother, area of, I'm sure, and I've heard you talk about it, where you talk about those things and how to really cope with them and deal with them.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the stickiness of heirlooms, sentimental
Yeah.
objects, it's all about the story, right?
Yeah.
And um and it's another opportunity to look at how you want to live your life. No, nothing freely given is ever meant to be a burden. So the tragedy of a loss of a loved one does not
Mhm.
require you to bring their things into your home. There's plenty of ways for you to deal with their possessions
Mhm.
on the other side of their departure. If you're not required to bring them home, you are probably required to remove them from where they were living, whether they were living in an assisted living facility or
Yeah.
a family home that is now going to be sold. They do need to leave that piece of real estate, but they're not required to enter your home. Even if you think,
Yeah.
right, like, I have to take them on, they could go to temporary storage. They could be donated en
Yeah.
masse to, Goodwill or some secondhand thrift store. They don't need to come home. But the story, which is fueled by guilt and possibly some shame, is I'm going to be a bad child, brother, God forbid, parent. I have to take this, it has to come home with me. It doesn't have to come home. You
Yeah.
cherry pick the things that, oh, I've always loved that, and that will remind me of them. But if you're an adult living independently, you already have a set of dishes. You already have a toaster. You have a blender. You have a frying pan. You don't
Right.
need to bring home your mom's frying pan unless it's a better frying pan than yours. Or
Yeah.
if you love, you have fond memories of cooking with your mom in that frying pan and you'd like to replace yours. But as we know, right, the organizational triangle, one home
Right. Yeah.
with like
And
something in, something out. If you have enough of everything and you're bringing something new in, maybe you decide, I've always loved that cast iron skillet. I'm going to get rid of this frying pan and I'm going to bring that skillet home. Awesome.
Mhm.
But don't bring it home in addition, because you've already determined you had enough frying pans before your mom died. So you don't need to
Right.
bring hers home in addition.
And yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, and I love that triangle because that's something that I've really, like with like, and, the way that you really show people that it works and everything has their place, every single item, whether it's a pen, it's a paper clip, they all have a place to go. And, with you, Andrew, when you think about organization, what what do you think, or what is your absolute definition of organization?
Well, I think it's really just that those the first two legs of the triangle, one home for everything and like with like, are in place.
Yeah.
I am an essentialist. I'm not a minimalist. I don't have I mean, I don't have a problem with minimalism as an idea. I've never liked authority. And
Why is that?
I don't like too many rules, and
Yeah.
and I don't like dogma. So the
You don't
idea
like what?
dogma.
Oh,
So the idea of having to adhere to an external set of, like, I'm only allowed to have, 4 pairs of shoes or 2 sport coats, or you have whatever you want to have. Who
yeah.
cares? If you have enough room for it, you have enough
Mhm.
room for it. My thing is, why spend any time thinking about stuff when you're not using stuff? So for me, as an essentialist, I like to have what I like to have, as
Mhm.
long as it has a function in my life, right? If it makes my life more comfortable, convenient, or beautiful, then I like to have it around. And when it ceases to make my life more comfortable, convenient, or beautiful, then I can let it go. So when I think of organization, it's just everything as a home and all of its siblings are together. Then you can find whatever you're looking for in 30 seconds or less. It isn't very
Yeah.
complicated. But again, if you live in a mansion, you can have more stuff than I have in my, 1,100 square foot condominium. I
Yeah.
don't need a mansion's worth of things in that space. And likewise, if you have a big house and you want to have a lot of stuff and it all fits, have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're here for a limited period of time. What do you want to spend your time doing? Accumulating things, moving crap from room to room, or is there something that
Mhm.
you want to spend your time doing? And again, I don't care what it is, but if you're not doing it, and clutter seems to be, clutter stuff seems to be the
Yeah.
reason why, what's going on with that choice that you are choosing to spend your time with things rather than with people or experiences, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look, I'm an introvert. I like a lot of alone
You're
time.
not an introvert,
Oh, I
are
definitely
you?
am. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time.
You don't seem like it.
Well, I mean, I was a professional actor for 20 years. I'm fine
Oh,
talking.
yeah.
But crowds, unless I'm on a stage, being
Or you
around,
can't see the audience, right?
well, or I can see
Yeah.
them, but I'm where I am and they're where they are, right?
Yeah.
Crowds tend to drain my energy. They don't
Oh,
charge
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So intimate one-to-one conversations are where I like to be.
Yeah.
I don't like parties. I will go
Mm,
to them, but
yeah.
parties, that's not my thing. So
Yeah.
anyway, I am an introvert, trust me. The point is that, I understand that some people, uh, don't wanna spend a lot of time with other people, but they
Mhm.
might still want to be doing something in the world rather than flipping through a catalog, looking at things that they're not gonna buy, or window shopping in malls for things that they don't need. They're even if it was just, playing with their pets, their companion animals, there's
Yeah.
probably something they'd like to be doing rather than deciding, "Should I keep this or should I let this go?" And I wanna get to the other side of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, and that's, when I think of all the people that you've helped over the years, and I think that number I'm sure is higher now, but it was back, I think last year, over 500,000 people,
Yeah.
right? And that number has gone up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's hard to keep track. I mean, when you hit a milestone, we're aware of it, but otherwise, it's hard to do the math of, because you have attended the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge. You talk
yeah.
to your friends, they're impacted by you saying, "Oh, I did this thing, and now I have a home for my keys, and I don't have those bags of mail anymore." And somebody says, "Tell me about it. I have a bag of my mail." And you share some information with them, and that ripple effect, in the same way that you touch people that, you know, like those 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
don't know how you've influenced other people, and so there's a ripple. But I mean, I can look at the math of the stages I've been on, the companies that I've worked for, the people that have purchased my books, and know that at least 500,000 people have been influenced by the work that I've done so far.
Yeah, no, and I can absolutely see that happening because a lot of people, when you put videos out there and you're giving really, I mean, very meaningful information out there and the things that you have developed through your company. And, people are adopting those. I mean, I've had other people that, they're like, who is Andrew Mellen? I want to know, after I told them about, the challenge that I was on last year. So that's why I'm so excited because I get to share you here. And again, I'm talking with Andrew Mellen. He is the most organized man in America, but I said the world earlier, but really you are, in the world. I know you work in a lot of different countries that you've helped people just really declutter, right? I
Yeah,
know.
well, I just came back from a tour of Southeast Asia where I was speaking in, Manila and,
Oh my
the
gosh.
Philippines, and spent some time in Singapore, and also spent some time in Indonesia. So, yeah.
Gosh, that must have been just so, I mean, heart filling.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's lovely people,
Yeah.
very receptive to it, and, when there's that fork in the road, right, between B2C and B2B, the
Yeah.
business to consumer and business to business, and so these
Mhm.
were all professionals, so we were doing more around time management, and
Yeah.
my 3rd book, which will be coming out in a couple of
Yeah.
months,
Yeah.
calling bullshit on busy, the time management book where we look at the 8 deadly time thieves. And so that was really the focus of the work there. But yeah, between productivity and organization, it's almost everybody lives in a story of too much to do and not enough time. So
Yeah.
it's easy to find an entry point, with the work, which again just delights me because I want to be useful and I want to be helpful.
Yeah, and you absolutely are, Andrew. I mean, I've seen people that have commented on, just the things that you're putting out there and teaching people. And when it comes to, our mindset, I think a lot of people just they want peace. They want to have go in their home, be able to sit on the couch, watch TV, or, go in the kitchen and make dinner, but they want a nice organized space. So what kind of, because I know we're almost coming to the end of the broadcast, and what would you really love America and the world, because we have people that watch, in other countries. What do you want them to know about you and just everything that you have put out there for the last, 27 years that you've been doing this?
Yeah, well, and again, I mean, they can find out about me online. I don't want to. I don't want to use this precious time to talk about myself. If you are struggling with clutter and disorganization, if you've got a muddled mind, mindset is where it begins. So let's talk about that, right? If you are in a glass half empty kind of mindset, if you're feeling down, if you're talking crap to yourself, if you're beating up on yourself, if you are susceptible to that kind of negative chatter,
Yeah.
if we think about a wheel of cause and effect, right? The mindset is going to affect your emotions. It can't help it, right? If you're talking crap to yourself, you're likely not feeling your strongest, most competent self. And if you're feeling crummy, then you're not going to take very strong, deliberate, focused action. If you don't take good focused action, you're going to get subpar results. And if you get subpar results, you're likely, with a crappy mindset, you're likely to use that evidence to reinforce, you see, I can't do this. I can't catch a break. I can't. It's all I, right?
Yeah.
I'm broken. I'm damaged. This is beyond me. It works for everybody else. All of that stinking thinking, the subpar results tend to reinforce that. Whereas if you can shift your mindset to one of even skepticism, right? Like I'm willing to be willing. I'm willing to believe that there is an opportunity for me to get different results, even if I don't exactly know how. So I'm open-minded enough. I'm a little glass half full enough to not feel so down. So I'm feeling like, well, there's I'm skeptical, but I'm willing to try. And then you get better results. And then that reinforces, oh, I thought that this was not going to work, and it worked.
Yeah.
I want to do more, right? I mean,
Not so skeptical.
failure breeds failure, success breeds success. So if you can get any win, you can then start to value stack and win stack those wins on top of each other to buoy yourself up and make progress. Again, it's not rocket science, right? If you aren't successful and you don't have a positive mindset, you will use that as evidence to convince yourself that there's no opportunity for change, which is just garbage.
Yeah.
We see it all the time, and we love those stories of the people that have surmounted what seemed like impossible odds to achieve tremendous things. And the scale of it doesn't even matter, right? I mean, for you, and I don't mean you, Shelley, but I mean for you, the viewer, right? Just being able to walk into your house and know where your keys are, your mobile phone is, your bag is, your mail, to have good, nutritious food in your refrigerator that's not surrounded by leftover weird science experiments that have expired. And you can walk into your spaces and feel safe and comfortable in your own home. That might be a tremendous win, right? Or you could be walking into your laboratory and everything's where you need it to be, and you're working on a cure for ovarian cancer, and you're able to do it because you know where everything is. The scale of the success doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have the success and you leverage the success to take yourself up another notch and up another notch and up another notch. It's the same path down is the same path up. And at every junction, we have the option of either being glass half empty, glass half full. And we all have shitty days. We all have those days like I didn't want to hide under the covers. Take the day. And then tomorrow morning when you wake up, let's not have that inform how today's going to go. Give yourself the day off. If you can't focus, if you're not feeling like you're going to get much done, you could also just go for low-hanging fruit, right? Like maybe that's the day that you just throw the junk mail in the recycle bin. We don't open any of the mail. We just get rid of the garbage.
Get rid of it.
You don't have to set yourself up that every day has to be a day of high achievement and magic. It could just be a day of competence and survival. Awesome. Tomorrow will be the day where you kick some ass. It's
I mean, this is so insightful, Andrew. I mean, I could tell your passion or see your passion. And, I mean, I completely loved going through your challenge last year. And I know you have more programs that are happening this year. You have your books that are out there. So we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes so people can go and grab their copy. But I would love for you to share, because again, we're almost done. But I would love for you to share how people, can go onto some of the programs that you have, and what are those things that you're doing right now that people can kind of play in the sandbox with you.
Sure. So we do the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge. It's a 5-day challenge, and we do that 3 times a year. We just completed one in January of 2023. The next one will be either in March or April. We're still finalizing the dates, but it'll be coming up. If you think about spring cleaning, we'll be doing the challenge in alignment with spring cleaning. So there'll be one coming up soon, and then we'll do one last one in August, and that's our cycle of the challenges. And we typically get 3,000 to 5,000 people signing up for the challenge, which is awesome.
That's incredible. Yeah. And I think that, that challenge in itself, I mean, it's what I remember from last year. You gave so much content, and, people I know just went back to their closet, their kitchen, wherever, and they went to town and took care of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's
just
$1,
because of the way
right?
you put it out there.
We charge $1 for the challenge, and I'm completely transparent about that. I mean, when we think about, again, brain science and mindset, what we discovered, we used to get 10,000 people signing up for the challenge, and we'd have about 2,000 showing up. And my question was always, where'd the 8,000 people go? I mean, they raised their hand, but then they just couldn't show up for themselves, right? I mean, I'm not doing the challenge for myself. My house is organized. So,
I hope so, right?
So for me, the whole point of doing the challenge is for the other people to show up. And we figured out very early on that if we charge anything, you have a 3 times greater chance of showing up, because now you have some skin in the game. So I wanted it to be as affordable as possible. It's $1, right? I mean, I would like it
very reasonable. I mean,
if you have clutter, you also have $1.
Yeah.
And so that's one way that they can interact with us. We have our 10-week flagship program called the Unstuff Your Life System. So if you think of the De-Stress Your Mess Challenge as a 5-day challenge, the Unstuff Your Life System is really that on steroids, because we go deep every week into a different clutter hotspot and get much more rigorous homework. What we also, in our world, all of our programs are taught live, because again, the people that are struggling to make this kind of change in their life, if watching a video was sufficient to motivate them to take action, they wouldn't probably be their homes wouldn't look the way they do. And there's no judgment there. It's just, it's important to recognize that they don't have the clarity and the mindset to be able to just take a piece of information and apply it. So we decided a long time ago that we were going to teach all of our programs live. Either I teach them or coaches that I've trained teach them, so that we are ensured that you show up, we show up, there's accountability, and people actually get the work done. So the Unstuff Your Life System is an amazing, I mean, I'm really proud of it, because we get the testimonials where, people will start to cry about the way that their lives change. And they had, in that way that people talk, right? Like, I had tried everything. You probably hadn't tried everything, but you hadn't tried this, right? But you tried everything that you could find, and nothing worked, and then found me in the program, and it did work. And so I'm really proud of the fact that, sometimes we're the last stop on the train, and we're just what the doctor ordered. So that's great. And then we have a program called Your Next Big Thing, which is a 12-week elite mastermind that we run, where we teach people the 5 phases of project management, so that they can, whatever they want to manifest in 90 days, I coach them through that. And that's another program that I currently run. And so we've had people in there who are writing operas, who are renovating homes, who are planning their retirements, planning their weddings,
Mm.
Anything that you want to take from idea to manifest in 90 days, it's a great program for that. And then in 2023, we're launching a Calling BS on Busy mastermind, which
Oh,
is really geared for primarily entrepreneurs, business people. Anybody can take it, but the idea is really to offer something on the B2B side of the equation, because so many of our other things are residential focused, that I really wanted to be spending time with my peers and colleagues in the professional world who are struggling with time management. And those 8 deadly time thieves, just to run through those real quick for folks, it's interruptions, overcommitting, multitasking, poor planning, meetings, email, social media, and procrastination.
oh, those are really good ones.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
of them.
And so
Oh, gosh.
that's the subject of my 3rd book, Calling Bullshit on Busy. And
Can't wait to get that.
yeah, I'm very, it's looking good.
Yeah.
The team who's working on the layout and the cover, I'm really pleased with the work that we're making on that. And so to have a companion mastermind group that we can start to run, where we really support people in addressing primarily productivity, efficiency, and time management. The clutter will figure into it because it always figures into something, but the primary focus of this new mastermind is going to be on time management and productivity, which is really, as my work evolves, it's really where my interests lie now. I'll always be the most organized man in America, and I will always have my interest in supporting people around clutter and disorganization. But optimizing human potential and performance is even more of an interesting puzzle to solve, and a more interesting challenge to coach people through. So I'm very much looking forward to bringing that online this year.
Oh, that's fantastic that you've, found these really those avenues for people to fit in, into so many different areas where people need that support. So, kudos to you and your team for doing that, Andrew. And I know we have your website. It's scrolling at the bottom. So hopefully people can take a picture of that and they go there to just look at all the different things that you have available and what you've mentioned tonight. And again, we are so happy that that you came here to have this conversation with me, and it was fun. And, I think, clutter and, just things, and it's something we all need to address, in some shape or form. And the last thing that I want to do, and I know we almost said we're, towards the end of the broadcast, but I want to do a rapid fire question really quick, a couple of them. Are you with me on this?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Favorite ice cream?
Cherry Garcia or butter pecan.
Oh, favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite TV show on Netflix or movie or?
Right now I am watching a series called Fauda, F-A-U-D-A, which is about the conflicts in Israel and Palestine. It's fascinating.
Oh, gotta watch. I have to look for that one. Sounds good. And last, what is your favorite guilty pleasure? Oh my goodness. I know you have something.
Yeah, well, I would say that there's probably 2 of them. One would be a large plate of nachos.
Oh, the whole works, or just the cheese and the chips?
No, everything except sour cream. I'm not a huge sour cream fan. I mean, I love dip and chips, but dairy's not my friend. So I mean, I minimize.
Skip the sour cream.
Yeah, I typically go for double guacamole.
So
I would say that nachos is a guilty pleasure, and then wrangling my way into business class either through upgrades or something, flying in the front of the plane with a little more leg room and a few less people around me is a guilty pleasure. Whenever I can make that happen,
Yeah,
I really appreciate, because I travel a lot for work.
I know.
And
Yeah,
so any chance that I can stretch out makes air travel a little more pleasant.
I would imagine. Yeah.
I
Especially
have
when you're going,
so,
you're in a plane for 13 or 14 hours.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So being able to recline a little bit more just makes it a little easier. So
Yeah. Well, that is all of the information that you shared tonight, Andrew. Very, thought provoking and things that people could really apply in their own life. And I definitely would love for our audience to go check out Andrew's website, look at the different programs that he has going. Like he had mentioned, he's going to have, springtime, he's going to have another challenge. I guarantee you it is the best use of your time if you really want to declutter your life and really put things into practice so that you can live a better life and more, get out and have those experiences. And Andrew, again, thank you so much for being on Luminary Leaders Live. You're just a wonderful guest, and we're going to have part two because we've got more to talk about when it
oh,
comes to
always.
clutter and things going on. But thank you again for being with us. To our audience, remember to subscribe to Luminary Leaders Live. We want to thank our sponsor, who is Endeavor Mortgage out in Seal Beach with Dan Leonard. And again, thank you all for being here. And Andrew, have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.
My pleasure.